Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Yue Eats. I'm Yue, and I am back in New York, and I am in New York Chinatown, but not Manhattan Chinatown. I'm in the real Chinatown. I'm in Flushing, Queens. While many people, when they say Chinatown, they think of Manhattan Chinatown, and for good reason. This is the real Chinatown. I mean, pretty much anytime you come here, it's just gonna be completely slammed with Chinese people, as well as anyone who's itching for some truly authentic Chinese cuisine. I mean, just look at how crowded the street is. It kind of reminds me of like Shibuya Crossing. If you've ever been to Tokyo, you'll know what I mean. Now, the reason we're here is not just to hang out. Well, okay, we're partially here because we need to buy a Year of the Dragon Chinese New Year banner for our door. But the main reason we're here is because Tina and I were really craving some legit, authentic, high quality Chinese food, and there's no better place in New York, or I would even argue there's no better place in the whole East Coast than here. Now, there's a plethora of options here, whether it's Hong Kong style, Fujian style, Northern Chinese, there's lots of options. But if you're kind of new to Flushing Chinatown, a good jack of all trades and a good place to start is the New World Mall. The New World Mall food court is a really famous food court in Flushing Chinatown, and also in New York in general. I would argue it might be the most famous food court in the whole city, because while food court to most American audiences, you know, doesn't really sound super nice, food court kind of makes you think of like a cheap mall with cheap options like Sbarro and Taco Bell and, you know, Shake Shack if you're lucky. But this New World Mall food court is popular amongst locals here because there's lots of authentic Chinese food options in this one food court, and if you don't know what to eat, just go to this New World Mall food court. You'll find something for you for sure. So we're gonna go get our Year of the Dragon decoration, and then we're gonna get some dinner at this food court. So let's check it out. It looks like here they also have some Vietnamese options too. You know, Vietnam also celebrates the Lunar New Year too, so very cool. All right, so we wound up getting this. Tina and I agreed on this decoration. Bearded dragon at the top and some cute little dragon kids at the bottom. So yeah, now Tina is Khaleesi. Now she's mother of dragons. And I guess that makes me, what was that guy that was with him? Sir Jorah Mormont? I don't know. Anyways, onwards. Chestnuts roasting on an enclosed fire. Okay, we are here inside the New World Mall. We're in the basement of the New World Mall, so we're in the New World Mall food court, and we're a little early. It's about 5:30, but later in the evening, it can get pretty slammed. But right now, around 5:30 on a Sunday, it's not too bad. Most seats are taken, but you can pretty much get one. Now, they have a pretty large selection of like authentic Chinese foods, and Chinese foods that if you're not super familiar with Chinese food, things that you might not expect to see. Let me show you real quick. So, you know, as expected, they got like a dumpling shop. They have a few dumpling shops here, and as typical in authentic Chinese cuisine, everything being made fresh to order. Although actually it looks like they have some frozen dumplings, but I presume they're made fresh and then frozen. Now these are more dumplings, and these are, I believe, what are called shunjianbao. Like these are a different style of dumpling. Like they're like kind of grilled a little bit on the bottom. This is Xi'an food. If you've ever been to Xi'an Famous Foods, if you know the chain Xi'an Famous Foods, you'll know that this is the same kind of cuisine from Xi'an province. Then, of course, they have Japanese food. They have ramen. This is a spot that specializes in like duck meat, you know, like duck-based dishes. Now, this place is really interesting. This is a Chongqing province type of cuisine, known for being very spicy. Like, just look at how spicy this food is. Like, the food is completely red from this province. But I kind of want to show you some really neat things I got here. Now, this is Lanzhou La Mian, Lanzhou handmade noodles. And here, you get some fresh handmade noodles in a relatively simple broth. And if you've ever had ramen, like Japanese ramen, you know, you guessed it. Ramen is basically Japanese for ramen, you might say. And yeah, this is kind of the original version of that. Now, the Japanese version is much more savory. You know, it's kind of like a mix of Japanese taste and Chinese taste and the Japanese stereotype and the image of what Chinese flavors are, which is like a more savory, flavorful soup. But this Chinese lanzhou ramen, the Chinese ramen, it's a bit more of a simple soup. It's less savory, but it's great. Like, it's beautiful in its simplicity. And I want to show you one more thing. This restaurant has Uyghur cuisine, like food from the Xinjiang province in China. You know, the Uyghur people, if you're not familiar, they are people that are sort of ethnically related to the Turkish people, and they're a Muslim population in China, and their food is really different from what you would think of as Chinese cuisine. And let me tell you, this is something that you definitely don't see every day. Even in Chinatowns, authentic Chinatowns all across the US. We definitely got to give this a shot. I think we found our first spot that we're gonna eat at. Let's start off with some Uyghur food, and then we'll go from there. Cash only, okay.
Thank you.
No problem. Here we go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pasta gerek var?
Yes, please. Oh, excellent. Thank you. All right, guys, we just got our Uyghur skewers, and you know, I think this is the first time they've ever given them to me on like an actual skewer. I've never seen them just give me it straight on the skewer before, but you know, I'm not complaining. There's some beautiful skewers. Smells so good. Let's open this guy up. So these are our beautiful Uyghur skewers. They added some last minute seasoning, and they're charred on some parts, but they just look so juicy on the inside. How should I go about eating this? I don't want to impale myself, but I guess let's just eat it straight up, why don't we? Wow, and you still see the steam coming off it, don't you? I hope I don't burn myself. Really, really good. I will say that I think they could be a little bit more charred on the outside. Like, some parts of them have char, and other parts are not really as charred and crispy on the outside. Like, this one pretty much has no char. But you know what? Whatever these skewers may lack in crispiness, they are so juicy and tender on the inside, and they got such great lamb flavor. Like, if you like a lamb, you're gonna love these. This seasoning they added at the last minute was a great touch. It's a little bit spicy, not really so salty, but a little bit spicy, a myriad of some kind of exotic tasting flavors. Like, I guess I would say that when you're eating this, you feel like, you know, you rode a camel out into like the desert, eating this alongside Lawrence of Arabia or something. The less charred ones are a little bit less crispy, less Maillard reaction on the outside, but let's give these a try. You know, that's exactly what it was missing. It really just needs to be a little bit more charred. Like, the other ones are not as charred, but they're really missing that crispiness, that Maillard reaction on the outside. Just like how you want a sear on a steak, if they can get more of an even sear on these skewers, they would be great. But everything else is fantastic. Like, just look at how soft and juicy they are on the inside. The seasoning on top is excellent. The sesames are a great touch. If they were all like this charred one, then these would be perfect skewers. Actually, skewers are pretty popular street food in China now, so it makes sense that they would have one of these in this food court. Really, really good. But let's go try something else, why don't we? I was excited to try the lanzhou ramen, the OG ramen. Not sure if Naruto will like this or not, but I sure like it, so let's go get some of that. Alright guys, we just got our ramen, you know, ramen, but Chinese OG version. And this is our steaming bowl of ramen. If I have one gripe with this spot is that I wish they didn't sell everything out of these plastic containers. I kind of wish they did have bowls, but at least it makes cleanup very convenient, you know what I mean? So yeah, this is the original ramen, the Chinese version, but unlike the Japanese kind, it is much more simple. You know, the broth, as you can see, is more clear. It's not quite as fatty as Japanese ramen. Like, actually, in Japan, they think of Chinese foods as being very porky and very oily and sometimes even spicy. So that's why ramen in Japan is actually a Chinese food. You heard that right. A lot of people don't know that, but in Japan, ramen is considered Chinese food. But let's not let this get cold. Let's dig in. And, oh, actually, when it comes to noodle soups, I tend to like to try the soup first, unadulterated. You know, very different from a lot of Asian noodle soups, particularly ramen. It's much more clear, like it's not as fatty, not as oily. Okay, yeah, you see some oil like on the surface, but really it's a more clear beef broth cooked with some vegetables as well, and you feel like this would be really good if you're sick. But don't take it the wrong way. I don't mean that it's like bland and flavorless. You guys all know that I love to eat some deli foods on this channel, like matzo ball soup, and the more clear, the more pure and less filled with impurities. Oh. Really refreshing, like you're drinking all the best parts, health-wise, of the beef. But it is time to try the star of the show, the hand-pulled noodle. And really that's what this is all is. Highlighting the star of the show, the noodle itself, the fresh-made noodles. Excellent. Very, very good. Not the best Chinese noodle soup I've had. That would be in China, but pretty good. Have you guys ever had like homemade Italian pasta? All the things that make homemade Italian pasta awesome and worth the effort, same concept here. I mean, if you were here with me while filming, you would know that I got this food in like maybe just a few minutes, maybe 3 minutes tops, because it's similar to homemade pasta where once it's freshly made, they put it in the boiling water and it's done like very, very quickly. It may be very labor intensive to make and stretch out, but the texture is unparalleled. The homemade noodles just have like a springiness to them, like unlike the pre-dried ones, you'll have like a chew to it that's impossible to replicate from pre-made noodles. Only freshly homemade noodles have like that doughy chew, like that pleasant chew, that pleasant tooth feel to it. Is that what they say? Like a tooth feel to it? You really want that bounce of the noodle in your mouth. When you marry that broth and that noodle together, you get a thing of beauty. You know, we've all had like Asian noodle soups that are super heavy in their flavor. You know, fatty broth, oily broth, spicy, all that. But the reason why I like Lanzhou ramen, like Chinese ramen, is because the broth is more simple, it's beautiful in its simplicity, it's beefy in a pure way, beefy in a pure light way, and because of that, the noodle is the star. Like, you don't have strong flavors to distract from the bounciness and the snappiness from the noodles, the handmade, labor-intensive noodles. It really is a lot like Japanese udon. Let's review the beef real quick, why don't we? Okay, let's try a piece of the beef. The beef is okay. I find the beef is pretty soft, but there also is a lot of that like connective tissue and fat and stuff, which is making it kind of chewy. I'm not usually a big fan of it. Like, I feel like it kind of makes the beef taste a little bit chewy and a little bit sinewy, and it's not really my thing.
Can I add something? I found it really strange when I eat like beef noodle soup here, where it's like a big chunk of beef in a noodle. When I eat Lanzhou ramen in China, it's usually like thin sliced beef.
Oh.
And there's less of that tissue there. It's more just like the beef itself.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and that makes it taste better.
That makes a lot of sense, because I feel like they need to trim it. They need to get rid of all the fat and the tissue and the sinew and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Good thing that Tina is here eating with us. We have Tina who is from Beijing originally, and yeah guys, I mean, good food is good food. You know, there's no culture out there that doesn't know good food and no butchering and things like that. So yeah, I mean, I guess here in the US they will cut some corners, like as long as the dish is close enough, they feel like that's fine. But Tina is absolutely right. They need to kind of trim off some of the excess parts of this beef that are not so palatable, like the fat and the sinew and things like that. So the beef is only okay, but you know, it is what it is. But the noodle soup is not bad. But guys, we are gonna try one more restaurant here and then we're gonna call it a vid. So be right back. Alright guys, the last thing we're gonna review, the Taiwanese fried chicken. And yeah, actually, I wound up asking for it to go since, you know, it's a lot of food. I'm not gonna be able to finish all this stuff. Just to clarify, whatever I don't finish, I do take home on this channel. Do wanna make that clear. I don't wanna, you know, glorify overeating. I think everyone should maintain proper portions. But I got this to go just so it would be easier to take the leftovers home. Let's quickly open this while it's hot. And this is a lot of food, and guys, you should live to eat, just don't overdo it. We got some delicious popcorn chicken with a Taiwanese tea egg, I presume, and some marinated pork rice, or it's called raw fat, but that's basically what it is, like a pork rice bowl. The temperature is fading as we speak, so let's try one of these Taiwanese popcorn chickens, why don't we? All right, let's check it out. Oh. You know, it could stand to be a little bit more crispy. Like I've had Taiwanese fried chickens before, Taiwanese popcorn chicken, and usually there's a bit more of a pleasant crunch from the batter on the outside. This one is really juicy and moist, but it could stand to be more crispy. But I will point out what is good about it. Let me bite into it. Just look at how juicy and moist it is on the inside. It's juicy, it's moist, it's not dried out. Like you see some strings, and trust me, I know I've said on this channel that when things are stringy, that's how you know they're like cooked to heck. But in this case, trust me, it may look a little bit stringy, but every one of those strands is moist and not overcooked at all. The breading has good flavor as well. The seasoning is on point. Like the recipe they have for this batter is great. I just wish it was more crispy. Still not bad though. And lastly, let's try some of the pork rice bowl, why don't we? You have to like pork, and not just pork, you have to like pork belly. You gotta love bacon and those kinds of flavors. But if that's your thing, oh man, you can just see that this pork belly, like the fat in it just naturally makes it soft. You just eat it with the rice, it just naturally comes apart and melts in your mouth due to its fattiness. It almost like kind of naturally creates its own pork sauce in a way. Like this pork bowl really brings out what's great about pork belly. Delicious fatty pork, melt in your mouth pork. Fantastic. But anyways guys, I think that's gonna be it for this video. I just wanted to show you guys this spot here. What's great about this food court is that it's hard enough already finding really good authentic Chinese food. Even in New York, you sort of have to know where to look. I mean, you can find authentic Chinese food pretty easily enough, but you still gotta, you know, be in the know to know which places are good and which places are Not only is Flushing Chinatown a great spot for good Chinese food and authentic Chinese food, but this food court, like if you're new to Flushing and Flushing Chinatown, just come on down to this food court. It's a great place to start. If you like Chinese food, there's gonna be something here for everyone. It's affordable too. I mean, everything was like around 10 bucks or less. Even if I had gripes with this or that or some small things here or there, generally everything is pretty good. But anyways guys, that's gonna be it for this video. Have you guys been to the famous New World Mall basement food court? What are your favorite Chinese spots to hit up wherever you are in the world? Let me know in the comments because great minds eat alike. If you like my videos, make sure you like and subscribe. That way you stay up to date whenever I post another video. Time to knock out as much of this pork belly bowl as I can. So until next time, I'll see you later.